But, after watching the movie, I think I'll still be checking the graphic novel out. It looked interesting. The art style looked pretty cool.
I don't give a
For what it's worth, I would never have involved your female friend.
What's up, YouTube? Drive-By Movies here, and you're watching
Fresh Releases.
My name is James.
My name is Blaze.
And today we're checking out the new thriller that hit Netflix, David Fincher's The Killer.
If you want to succeed, hey.
After a fateful near miss, an assassin battles his employers and himself on an international manhunt he insists isn't personal. So, David Fincher's latest film, The Killer, hits Netflix. We got a chance to check it out. James, what do you think of this movie?
Yeah, so it's no surprise that I've been a fan of David Fincher for a while. If you've watched any of our previous older videos, I've mentioned him constantly, despite us not really being able to review any of his movies other than Mank, which was a different change of pace for his catalog. It definitely is probably my least favorite of his catalog, despite me overall still enjoying that movie for the most part. This, while it's not really a return to form, it's still a very interesting, surprising, not really necessarily an action movie, but a very comical, but also very fast-paced, fun thriller that's also brutal at times. But I highly enjoyed this. I liked the way it was told, and the whole time I was like, oh, this is definitely inspired by a novel. But you surprised me when you told me this is actually based off a graphic novel.
Yeah, available on Hoopla, which I'm currently reading right now, the omnibus, which is, I think, 371 pages or something like that. So there's a decent amount of issues out there. I think there's 3 volumes or 1 omnibus, but, I'll get into it. I wish I had known, but more than a week before, watching this movie. I didn't do my research and find out until a week before, and I haven't dug that much into it. But, after watching the movie, I think I'll still be checking the graphic novel out. It looked interesting. The art style looked pretty cool. But yeah, this was definitely, I think you're right. I don't think that this is really a return to form for Fincher. It felt like a really peeled back version of Fincher. This did feel very understated for something after Mank. This felt, I wouldn't say low budget by any means, but it did feel very restrained, maybe he was working in a smaller budget size than something obviously like Gone Girl, which was, in theaters. I know this is on Netflix and in some theaters, especially in New York and LA, but yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I'm a sucker for voiceover, and this had plenty of it.
Yeah, what caught me off guard was the fact that the movie was about an assassin overall, because when this movie was first announced, I just read that it was Michael Fassbender. It was based off, I must have read back then that it was based off a graphic novel. I just completely forgot about it. But, this movie was announced 2-3 years ago. Maybe, I think it was 2 years ago, honestly. But yeah, I just assumed The Killer, Michael Fassbender. I think The Snowman had just came out. I was it's probably about a serial killer or something. So I just thought, and David Fincher's done so many movies involving killers that I was just that's obviously what it was about. So when the original Netflix trailer came out, I was very caught off guard. I was oh, an assassin. Okay. Interesting. And I saw this movie with MoviePass. For those of you who don't know, MoviePass is back. And they also always have an image of the movie. It's never the poster of the movie when you click on it to look at showtimes. And it was a comic image. So I was just that's interesting that Netflix is advertising it as a comic. So now I definitely want to look into that, because I assume there's some interesting characters. Because I overall, in each chapter, it deals with someone who feels very crime bossy, almost like a video game where they're the final boss within the level, whether it's a secretive mission or just a brutal fight mission. And they come off very much like comic book characters, despite them still feeling very realistic and real world.
Yeah, I didn't actually think about it like that, but that's a good interpretation of it. Like with the different chapters, and there's always kind of like a new character that's introduced for that chapter. I did like that aspect of it. It did feel like it helped. I think the runtime for this film is on the shorter side. I think it's only an hour and 45 minutes, if I'm correct. But yeah, like I think that obviously helped the film move, and kind of with the pacing, it felt like vignettes almost. And I did really enjoy that aspect. I mean, I guess I don't know if it's spoilers or if we can get into spoilers, but whatever, we're gonna do it, you know. But so yeah, like I like that this gave a different aspect of the assassin movie. I felt like, you know, going into it knowing like, okay, it's not a movie about serial killers, which is David Fincher's forte, it feels like sometimes, especially with Mindhunter and some of his other work. But then, you know, is this a movie about, you know, a hitman, an assassin? And then it's like, oh, this is about, you know, this hapless assassin. So it's just not really what you think about when you think of, you know, John Wick. If you're going to think of an assassin, you don't think about the guy that's going to, you know, go to take the shot and miss, you know.
And I definitely don't imagine him wearing like Hawaiian shirts and bucket hats throughout the movie and stuff. Like, of course, during like, you know, the more secretive missions, he dresses a little bit more chill. But I just like whenever he's kind of like following people, he's dressed like very like out there, almost like a comic book. And I assume a lot of the outfits were very heavily inspired from the comic book too, just because like, yeah, the idea of like the big sunglasses, constantly listening to the Smiths or Morrissey songs. I think it was mainly the Smiths. I don't think it was any solo Morrissey stuff, but yeah, it was just like it was a very fun, interesting like a tick that the character had, I guess you could say. And I loved how kind of just arrogant he was the whole movie, because I really liked how he said, like, you know, he calls Mickey Mantle one of the greatest baseball players ever. He like batted 343. I'm batting 1,000 and stuff. And then just right there just keeps failing throughout the movie and stuff too, because every single thing he does goes wrong for the most part. Like, I was dying laughing at the lawyer sequence within the movie too, where just like he meant to, you know, question him and torture him for a long period of time. He's like, he has 6 or 7 minutes, and then he's just like, shit, like he messed up badly right there. And like I was just like, okay, he's just like kind of losing his touch and making mistakes. But no, every single mission in this movie is a mistake. Like, I don't know if he actually did bat 1,000 and just kind of going downwards from there or anything, but just like he had this like kind of feel like Boba Fett. Everyone thinks of Boba Fett as this badass bounty hunter from the Star Wars universe, but if you really look at it, everything he does, he messes up. Look at the way he dies. He's an idiot overall, and I wish they kind of portrayed Boba Fett that way. And of course, that's not how they did according to the Disney Plus shows, but like they could have gone in a funny direction where he is a badass. He does get the job done overall, but just like could have been very flawed and just kind of an idiot at the same time. And I like that this movie, and I don't know if the comic is this way, is just that kind of story and take on a serial killer or an assassin.
Yeah, I think what was fun about this movie is also that the opening and the hook almost feels like it could have been a short film in itself. Like how it just sets up like this assassin is perfect. He's going to do everything right. And then just, you know, the end is that twist of him, you know, missing the shot, you know, taking out, you know, I guess somewhat of an innocent life. And it's really entertaining. You know, it really caught me off guard. I think I went into this, you know, expecting that John Wick style movie, but told, you know, meticulously from the mind of David Fincher. But I'm really happy with what we got. It wasn't like anything I think I've seen in a while, so it was a very pleasant surprise.
Yeah, like overall, like, you know, it's kind of just like a revenge movie overall, just for, you know, his mistake. They take it out on an innocent life, so he goes out for revenge. Like, it's a story that's been done so many times, but I guess just narratively it feels refreshing and doesn't feel so over the top big. Like, a lot of this just feels like very real world and like real stakes placed, and just overall I like the ending. I like the direction this movie went in. Not sure if Netflix is going to beg David Fincher to come back and make a sequel or something, but we know that, you know, I'm still waiting on Mindhunter season 3, but that's confirmed never coming back. So I wouldn't hold your hopes up for a Killer part 2.
Yeah, I think the Mindhunter season 3, the book is closed on that. And I mean, I think the strikes definitely didn't help anything that was kind of even in the plans for just a sequel season. So we'll see how it goes for The Killer.
Yeah, so if you watched it on Netflix or if you're lucky to see it in theaters, let us know what you thought about it in the comments below. It's easy to watch. It's probably going to get a couple nominees, maybe not the highest of all awards and stuff, but I can see it doing pretty well with Oscar noms for like best editing, best musical score by Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross or something. But yeah, let us know what you thought about it because that's a great way to help support the show.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates.
And speaking of updates, be sure to catch all our social media links down below for other updates. We got Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and we also review stuff on our own personal Letterboxd accounts. So be sure to check those out. That'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video.